Hello, everyone. This is another Freedom to Feel conversation, and my guest today is Julie Ryan. She is a psychic medium, a medical intuitive, a businesswoman, an inventor, an author, a podcaster, and a serial entrepreneur. I love this part of your bio. You say, I am a wife, a mother, a grandmother, a sister, aunt, and a friend. For some reason, it put a smile on my face when I saw that. So Julie is also the author of, wow, lots of books. The Angelic Attendants, What Really Happens When We Transition from This Life into the Next, the 2-Minute Rule, and Angel Messages. That seems to me like it's a series. So Angel Messages for kids, for dogs, for cats, and for truth. So wow, we have done a lot, as I said, off record. But the full bio will be at the end of this video. But a question that I love asking everybody, Julie, is how would you describe yourself? How would you introduce yourself in your own words as of this moment?
I'm a businesswoman and an inventor of surgical devices sold throughout the world who learned how to do woo-woo, and I'm a buffet of psychicness.
I love that too.
That
made me laugh. Yeah, that was really cute too.
Yeah.
So the other question that I have to ask you is that I have read, of course, I have some information. How did you uncover these psychic abilities?
Well, I learned how to do them. Everybody has the ability. We all come in with them. Everybody has intuitive abilities. We all have had a thought of, oh, Aunt Susie, and then Aunt Susie calls, or Aunt Susie texts, or Aunt Susie sends an email, and we say, oh, I was just thinking of you. Or you run into Aunt Susie in town. And so that's all psychic intuitive ability. We all have it. But how I came about developing them, developing mine anyways, is I received a book about 30 years ago from a friend called Anatomy of the Spirit by Carolyn Mace, who called herself a medical intuitive. And I thought, what the heck is that? I'd never heard that term before. And I had been in the medical supply business for quite a while at that point, developing products, inventing products, selling products, manufacturing them, all of that to help people get well. But it was primarily at that point, that was when they were being used in surgery, my inventions. And I thought, okay, I want to know more. And back then, Valeria, we didn't have the internet yet. So I did the old fashioned thing, and I went to a Barnes and Noble bookstore to see what else they had on this topic. And I found a book called Hands of Light by Barbara Brennan, who was a former NASA physicist who parlayed very complex quantum physics concepts and principles into understandable English for the non-scientific mind. That would be me. And she was using energy to help facilitate healing. And I thought, okay, this is interesting. And I wanted to know more. So I called her school and I asked if they had anybody in my area teaching this stuff. And sure enough, they did. They had a recent graduate who had just opened a school. And so I studied with her for 6 years. And now I teach people how to do all of this stuff in a weekend. And it's so much fun. Everybody can do it.
And it sounds like it really does, though, because it really, what comes to me is that we are using more of what we already have. It's not something that we are acquiring. It's something that's already here that we are not aware of, abilities that are actually present. So, but I know that's not for everyone, right, Julie? So the training that you offer, do you make suggestions for the kind of people that you would recommend engaging with them?
It is for everyone, actually. We have people from all walks of life, I think we've had 14 countries. Right. Of people in 14 different countries that have gone through the training, and they are everything from a stay-at-home mom or housewife to doctors, lawyers, lots of professors in a bunch of different specialties like business and nursing and archaeology and art and stuff like that. Really, people from all walks of life, a lot of teachers, a lot of medical providers, different nurses, and like I said, doctors, surgeons, chiropractors. I mean, all walks of life. And that's the thing that makes it so fun. We have Broadway stars, we have Hollywood actresses and actors, we have, oh my gosh, it's just endless. And so everybody has the ability. We've all had times, as I mentioned, we think of somebody and then we're contacted by them. And we've all had times too where we have a gut feeling about something, Valeria, and we don't follow it because we intellectualize it, and then we regret not following whatever our gut feeling is.
Yes.
So it pertains to everybody. I think this is one of those instances where people tend to overcomplicate it. It's not complicated. It's really pretty easy once you unlock the techniques of how to reach spirit.
Yes. Wow. I kind of was envisioning here when you said it is for everyone. So I was envisioning my husband, he's in the construction business, and then that would be amazing if one of these days he becomes interested in healing and spirit and all that. And then also my brother, who is a firefighter. So that would be amazing. And who knows, that might happen one day.
Well, and I think you bring up a really good point too, which is you got to be interested, but you got to be interested in whatever you're exploring. I'm not interested in studying the mathematical equations used in baseball strategy. I don't care.
Right.
But there are people that are really interested in that. And I think it's like this is like anything else. It's wherever our interests lead us, which makes life so fun, and it makes it an adventure.
Right. Yeah. Exploring more of this, right, which we call life.
Exactly.
I agree. What would be the goal of exploring the realm of spirituality, of spirit, actually? Do we have to set an intention and have a goal, or it's something that is just free? We just go with the flow, as some say.
I think back to if it's something that interests you, that's it. That's all that's needed. Some people find this work through the loss of a loved one. I just got off the phone with a client who lost her son, who was 24, 4 years ago. And she wanted to talk to her son, and she wanted to know if she had any past lives with her son. Well, you learn the buffet of psychicness. You can do all of that stuff. So we did that. And the funniest thing about it, Valeria, is that the son from heaven was giving her career advice. And he was only 24 when he passed. And so he would be the last person she'd be looking for career advice from. But now that he's a spirit, he has access to universal intelligence. So he has access to guidance that perhaps can be really helpful to her, and she wouldn't be able to receive in another way. Whereas when he was very chatty. He was like, "Mom, you got to do this, 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 and this." It was really cute.
Wow. Yes. That's the area of suffering that really helps. I remember when I lived in New York, meeting a mother who had lost her daughter for, I think it had been 10 years then, and she was still so devastated.
Yeah.
I could not even, I could feel like her energy, how sad she was, but I couldn't understand because it had been so long. So for her, this would have been really, I'm not saying that they need guidance from other people, but you said that you can train them to become their own guide. But I think that's the area that's very much needed. I have not lost anyone, but it seems to me like that's the most painful experience that we can go through.
I agree, especially a child. Thank God I have one child and he's still very much alive. Thank you, God. But I would think that losing a child would be as tough as it gets. I have lost loved ones, but I
Yeah.
haven't gone through that. I do work with an organization called Helping Parents Heal, and it's for families
Mm,
who've lost a child. And it's just excruciating. The other thing that's interesting to note, though, and you touched on it a minute ago, is the number one way to help heal grief per university based research is
mhm.
to communicate with that deceased loved one's spirit, either through a medium or on their own. And that's the thing, back to our discussion a couple of minutes ago, that's the thing a lot of the time that leads somebody to discover, okay, there is the ability to communicate with my loved one, number one. Number two, there really is life after
Mm,
bodily death. And that's been proven scientifically as well in university based settings, in multi center studies. That's been proven with a 99.9% accuracy rating, which you never get
wow.
in research. And then the other thing, too, is that there are lots of different ways to get there. Sometimes it's people who have been ill for a long time,
Right.
and they'll come to me or another medical intuitive slash energy healer because they've exhausted a bunch of doctors, a bunch of Western and Eastern medicine. And I talked to a doctor this morning as a private client who has been dealing with Lyme type symptoms for years, a lot of years, like over 10 years. And he still has the symptoms. He's been through all the protocols, all of that. And I'm like a human MRI, Valeria. So I
Yes.
got him
Yes.
on my radar.
Yeah.
And I said, "You're full of mold. Where's the water leak? Do you have a water leak in your home?" He said, "Yeah, we do. I have a water leak in the ceiling
Mm,
and it needs to be fixed. We have a roof leak." I said, "That's what's causing these symptoms." I said, "How long have you had it?" He said, "Oh, about 12 years." I said, "I bet when you investigate, you're going to find there's a lot of mold in there." And his body was full of mold, and that was causing
yeah.
his symptoms. So that can bring somebody in. And then just general interest, is there more that than meets the eye?
Yeah. Another question came to mind. Being a medical intuitive, is that something that you predict already, kind of becoming aware of any problems that your own body might go through before death? Is that something that you have control of, and you're always in tune? I would love to hear that from you, because I have a hard time kind of trying to control life and trying to prepare for everything and not getting sick, although I don't get sick often. But I'm wondering if this is something that you engage with too, or you just leave it to life.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'm cognizant of what I
Yeah.
eat. I'm cognizant of I need to go for a walk every day.
Yeah.
I've started using the stretchy bands,
Mm, yeah.
instead of
Yeah,
weights. You are very fit. Obviously, you look like you work out a lot. You look
I do.
amazing. And that kind of thing. Yes. If I have something that is problematic, can I do healings on myself? I do it all the time. Yes. Can I see problems when they arise in my
Yeah.
body? Absolutely. I was in a one car accident with just my car. I hydroplaned and slammed into the guardrail thing, that cement block thing,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
totaled my car, but my car was still drivable, but I bent the
Oh,
daylights out of the frame. And I came home and I had called my husband. It was pouring rain. I lost control of the car. Thank God no other car was coming by me at that moment. And Valeria was on top of this big overpass.
yes.
And when my car started spinning, I just said, "Sweet Jesus, don't let me go flying off the end of this thing." Cause I was probably 50 or 60 feet up in the air, easily,
Ah,
maybe
wow.
bigger. And so on the way home, I called my husband. I pulled into the garage. He was waiting for me when I got into the garage. And I said, "Honey, I need to come in and use the powder room. And then we need to go to the emergency room because I have a broken foot." And he said, "Well, no, you don't. You wouldn't be able to walk." I said,
Mm,
"Trust me, I can scan my foot. I have a broken foot." And so we did. And sure enough, it was broken in two places, exactly where I told him it was broken, because I can see it in my mind's eye. Like I said, I'm like a
That's
human
amazing.
MRI. So I think that's a great example of me being able to scan myself. If there's something seriously wrong, I'm going to call in help. I'm going to ask for assistance from my mentor or from one of my graduates to scan me, because when we're in fear is a
Mm,
low
mm,
vibration.
yeah.
And I like to say spirit doesn't communicate on the I feel crappy channels because the vibration's too low. And so oftentimes when we're in fear, it's good to have some backup and have somebody just help validate what we're getting, and or maybe see things that we're not getting.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you for answering that question. I know I usually don't ask personal questions.
Oh,
I
that
was
was great.
curious to know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. So, uh, so intuition and fear. Would you say, I have asked that question so many times, and it's a tricky thing, isn't it, around to navigate, to know, especially when we are going through situations where we have to make decisions. Like, how do we know we are making the right decision? So I usually go by love. Is it coming from fear or love? And I really listen to see, because love has this feeling of freedom and everything's possible. It's just incredibly freeing.
Mhm.
So talk to me from your perspective. Is that what intuition is? Something that it makes us feel free?
Yeah. Feels neutral or good. Yeah. Any thought that feels badly is always based in fear.
Yeah.
Anger, jealousy, boredom, grief, actual fear. It's all based in fear, and most of it is fake. Like 99.99999% is
Right.
fake
Right.
because we're making it up. I heard somebody a couple days ago say every thought that of something that can happen in the future is a lie. And I laughed and I said, "Well, that's pretty profound." And he said, "We're
Yeah.
making it up. It's not true. It could happen, but it could as easily not happen.
Right.
So every future thought is a lie." How's that for a slogan?
Wow. I like that one.
Yeah,
Because that also puts us in touch with the present, right, Julie? So we
exactly.
are always in this present moment, which feels to me like is the only thing that really exists, if there is such a thing as a thing. To me, everything is spirit. I actually don't see the difference though, because I'm a student of Vedanta, which is a Hindu philosophical system, spiritual system, and
Mhm.
they're very scientific and experiential. So they never ask us to believe in anything, but it's always meditating, reflecting, contemplating to find out the truth for yourself. So I see that very clearly that there's no really separation. The mind creates that idea, but and I know we get these abstract glimpses of everything being one thing, in a sense of everything being spirit, being God, or an expression of God. And I think that helps this body mind complex kind of navigate this reality called life, because I see everything as an expression of God. So it's much easier not to be afraid of. Because if it is God, why would I be afraid of anything that is God? Do you have a different understanding when it comes to this, the big picture of reality?
No, I think that it's all I agree with you. It's all benefiting us in some way. And our human perspective is, how in the
Mm.
heck? I
Yes.
mean, we're going through something horrific. How in the heck is that going to benefit us? But it does,
Yeah.
because it has us looking at something from a different perspective,
Yeah.
and we're creating out of it. If we didn't know what we didn't want, we wouldn't be clear on what we do want. It helps us clarify what we're creating. So it's almost like
Mm.
we're being, our course correction is happening. Like airplanes, they say don't fly in a straight line. The computer's always course correcting the coordinates of where the
Ah,
plane is flying. And I think our lives are the same way. And we're here to have a human experience, experience being the operative word here. Everything is experiential. The
yes.
other thing, too, is that in every great teaching, every philosophy talks about this is basically an illusion. It's as if we're all actors in a play
Mm.
or in a movie. And when we are in pure spirit form, we're back in heaven, we can look at that and go, oh, yeah, my mom was just the witch from hell.
Yes.
And then, we can go up
Yeah.
to her in heaven and go, you deserve an Academy Award because you played that part so well.
Yeah.
Yeah. And at the same time, what happened? Well, it perhaps led the child, when they became an adult, to run their life differently, create a different life, create a different parental experience for their children. And it perhaps wouldn't have been as good as it ended up being if they hadn't had the incentive to make it better than what they'd
Mm.
experienced as a child. Does that make sense?
It does, yeah,
Yeah.
very much does. Yeah, with Vedanta, it's the same thing. In the end, they say it's just a story. We are
Yeah.
living a story.
Yeah.
And I keep that in mind too, all the time as a mantra too, just not to take it, this too seriously. And I don't.
Right.
Although suffering feels very much in fear, right? It feels very real when it's happening. And it is,
Oh,
as long
yeah.
as it lasts, right, Julie? It is
Right.
real.
Right. And then the other thing, one other point, if I may, pretty much everybody that you talk to that's gone through some, what I would say, awful or
Mm.
horrific experience, once they're on the other side, oftentimes they'll say, I wouldn't trade that experience for anything
Wow.
because these are all the good things that came out of it. When I lost my dad, and it was so heart-wrenching for me. Well, it led me to explore mediumship.
Yeah.
And I talked to a medium, and I was able to communicate with my dad through the medium. And that led me on my journey to learn about this stuff. And oh my gosh, has that changed my life? So
Yeah.
usually there's a situation where something really wonderful has come out of something perhaps that was an awful experience.
Yeah. Yeah. That really makes sense to me because everything is interconnected. So we are not really, all stories are connected. So it's like you said, we cannot really comprehend, right? See the big picture. We just see pieces at a time.
Right.
So, gosh, I have so many questions for you. It's way too many. Yeah. What about this heaven idea? That sounds very religious to me, although Vedanta is a religion too, although I'm not religious when it comes to the teachings. So what is heaven to you, Julie?
Just non-physical, pure spirit.
Yeah.
I think it's all around us. I don't think it's on the third cloud to the left.
Yes.
When you fly north, like in Peter Pan, you take a right at the third star or something, whatever it was. Cross Tower Bridge, and then you take a right at the third star. I'll have to look that up. I forget what that was, but it's just non-physical, and it's all the same thing. It's around us all the time. It's just being able to raise our vibrational level to the level of spirit so that we can perceive what's around us. Because this is my take on this, when we're attached to a body, when our spirit, which is the everlasting part of us, is attached to our bodies, we vibrate more slowly simply because the body has mass.
Right.
So I equate it to trying to run an electrical current through a bowl of pudding. It's going to slow it down.
Yes. Yeah.
And when we don't have the body slowing down the vibration and we're pure spirit, then that's a different perception that is part of the equation. And it's just a matter of raising our vibrational levels so that we can perceive it. It's kind of like tuning to you want to tune to the movie channel, you want to tune to the football channel, you want to tune to the classic music channel. It's just getting tuned to that frequency so that we can perceive it.
Right. I love your sense of humor. It's really great. That really helps, especially somebody going through perceived suffering, hard situation. So you can light that up. And that's interesting about the word light. So it has to do with playfulness. I always put them together, light and playfulness and just being joyful and not taking this experience too seriously.
Well, spirit is pure love. And it is fun.
Yeah.
And you bring up a really good point, and that is when I talk to loved ones that are in, I say in heaven, which just means non-physical. I went through
Yeah.
12 years of Catholic school, so heaven is
Yes.
non-physical to me. And that's why I use the word spirit instead of soul. Soul feels religious to me, whereas spirit doesn't.
Right.
And so when we're talking with a loved one's spirit in heaven, and the family members are so bereaved and they're just suffering with grief and all of that, and they're expecting their loved one's spirit to give them some life
Yeah.
altering, esoteric, fabulous guidance. And they say, "Hey, mom, I miss strawberries." And it cracks everybody up because it's something that they would appreciate.
Right.
And
Yeah.
what I find so much, Valeria, is that the spirit of the loved one who's passed, they're saying such funny things because they want their family to live a life of joy. They want to have it be fun. And
Um,
and spirit is pure love. Source, God, whatever you want to call it, is pure love and joy. And we're supposed to be having fun when we're doing this stuff.
mm.
But the funny things that come out are just they're just hilarious. One of my favorites happened not too long ago. I was talking with a woman and her mom's spirit in heaven, and the mom's spirit, it's the first time they'd spoken. And the first thing out of the mom's spirit's mouth into my head comes in like a thought in my head
Yeah.
was, "You need to check your peanut butter." Her
Yes.
daughter said, "What?" And she said, "Yeah, you need to check the peanut butter. It's
Uh,
expired." And the daughter said, "What the heck? Really? That's the first thing you want to say to me?" So I said, "Just go check your peanut butter." So she
yeah.
goes to her pantry and she checks the peanut butter. The peanut butter had expired 6 months before, and she had little kids. And so the
Yeah.
grandma's spirit from heaven's going, "I don't want you making my baby sick because you got some
Right.
expired peanut butter in your pantry." So just amazing things like that are just so out of left field and so random that you got to laugh.
Yes.
She threw
Yeah.
the peanut butter away on the spot.
Yes. Yeah. And how many experiences like this, Julie, took you to really embrace this path as something real, actually more real than our conversation here today, in a way?
Pretty pretty
Mm,
early on, because I really was led to this because of the medical part of the equation and the healing part of the equation, and then all this other stuff
mm,
I figured out once I was there. But and in the first chapter in my Angelic Attendants book, I talk
mm.
about this at length. But I started being able to perceive things, like I would see things different colors.
Yeah.
Red signified inflammation, royal blue signified anti-inflammatory energy. And then I started seeing in my mind's eye as if I was looking at a movie with my eyes closed. I could see in my mind's eye, it looked like these blue lines in a body, and it reminded me of an architectural drawing of a house or a building. You know how
Yes.
those blue lines they use. And then it came in as body parts. And I was able
Mm.
to perceive inside somebody's body with their permission, of course. I never scan anybody without their permission. I turn my abilities on and off at
Yes.
will.
Yes.
I don't walk around scanning people because I think that's unethical. It's unethical. It's,
Yes.
it's not, that's not my place. So, I'm just like you said at the beginning, I'm a wife, I'm a mom, I cook dinner, I do laundry, I make my bed
Yeah.
every day, just regular stuff. And then when I want to use this, I turn it on. So it's fast forward the methodologies that I learned, the curriculum that I learned 30 years ago. Fast forward, we can learn it in a weekend. And it's
Wow.
not just medical, but it's communicating with spirit, how close to death somebody is, past life stuff, remote viewing. All of that is a transfer of energy from me to my students so that they
Mm.
can vibrate at a really high rate. Once you connect with spirit, you can do it all.
Right. Wow. That's fascinating. I never heard it that way. So it's a transmission type
Yeah,
of
it's transmission
experience.
of energy. And we do lectures and practicum and stuff because what are we going to do for, you know,
Right.
8 hours over 2 days? Just sit and look at each other. That would be boring. So we talk about something, but the whole time they're swimming in that energetic soup where I'm transferring the energy. And at the end of the day, my students will say, "Oh my goodness, I had to go for a walk or something because I was so jacked up from the high vibration." And then they immediately do it. And I think that's really the key, is being able to reach the vibration of spirit. And then from there, you can take it anywhere you need.
So how do we know, for people listening, watching this, how do we know when it's actually coming, these experiences are coming from mental illnesses or belief system, limiting belief system, our imagination, delusion? How do we know the difference, Julie?
Great question. It's the first thing that comes into your head. Boom. Fast as you can snap your fingers. Or before, if you don't have your thought out all the way, but you're getting an answer, that's spirit communicating with you. If you ask a question or make a statement and you hear a thought in your head that comes in instantly, like as fast as you can snap your fingers or before, that's from spirit. When we think about it, if it takes more than a second or a nanosecond, that's our brain talking to us. A couple of other pointers too, Valeria. First of all, spirit's pure love. Spirit will never say anything derogatory or abusive or hurtful, ever, ever, ever. It's always either going to be neutral or make you feel good, because spirit's pure love. And then the other thing that's important to remember is our answer that we receive, especially if we're asking for guidance, how applicable it is will be predicated on how we ask the question. For example, if we say, "Hey, Mom, are we going to enjoy the movie?" And you hear a yes in your head. And then you and your family are watching some movie tonight and it's awful. And you say, "Mom, what's up with that? You said we'd enjoy the movie." Well, think about it. The way that you ask the question could pertain to any movie you're going to watch throughout the whole rest of your life. Whereas if you would have said, "Hey, Mom, are we going to enjoy watching Frozen 2 on Disney Plus this evening?"
Right.
See how specific that is? So I always say spirits are really literal. You want to be very concise, very specific if you're asking for guidance.
Wow, that's beautiful. Yes. Thank you so much for answering that question too, with so much clarity and confidence. Yes, that was my finding out on my own, that anything that came from love, it was really, and it was so fast too. I already knew that intuitively. It was just there all along. And that's why now my main guiding principle is love. I'm always looking for that. How does this feel, the body, mind? So yeah, easier said than done. A lot of times I just give, attention to thought, but that's a training thing.
And thoughts don't have a meaning when they come into our heads until we give them a meaning. So really, emotion is an internal GPS system we all come in with. And if it feels neutral or good, follow it. If it feels bad, investigate. Is it a real fear? Is it a fake fear? Most of the time, it's going to be a fake fear. So you have that beautiful purple top on. You look gorgeous in it. Somebody who hates purple is going to say, "Valeria, why the heck are you wearing that purple top?"
Yes.
So point being, my thought is you look beautiful in it because I love that color on you. Somebody else's thought on that exact same situation may be negative because I don't like purple. So we control our thoughts and we give our thoughts a meaning once they come into our heads. They originate outside of our heads and they are attracted to us based on what we're thinking.
Wow. It is something that you mentioned in your book, the 2-minute rule. Yeah, you talk about limiting beliefs and fear, how connected they are. They are one and the same in a way, and how to do that. So that's interesting to see the question that you suggest we ask. Is this going to kill me in the next 2 minutes? And it's playful too. The playfulness here too. So talk to me about this method. And I mean, I didn't apply it yet, but I will. I will practice this and see.
It'll enhance your life in every area. When Spirit gave that to me a few years ago, Valeria, I was like, "Oh, this is a game changer." Yeah. So how it works is back to thoughts don't have a meaning till we give them a meaning. When thoughts feel neutral or good, follow them because they're accurate. If a thought feels badly, it's either based in rational fear, which something's going to harm you or kill you, or irrational fear. It's not, but it feels like it is. Because think about it, when we're in fear, we have an autonomic nervous system response and we go into fight or flight.
Right.
Well, what happens there? Our cortisol levels raise, our stress hormones raise, norepinephrine, cortisol make us feel stressed. So it's just kind of like a snowball happening.
Yeah.
The blood drains from our brain, goes to our heart and our extremities so we can run away from whatever the perceived fear is. Even if you're going to be late for an appointment.
Yes.
Right. It's the same. Body perceives it the same as if you're being chased by a saber-toothed tiger or something. And we lose clarity because our brain's not working properly. We're just like, okay, escape, 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 figure out how to escape. That's the only thing that matters. So when we slow down for a nanosecond and we say, is this going to kill me in the next 2 minutes? A lot of the time you're going to laugh. I have made it a habit over the years, and I don't even think about it. I just go there if I have a thought that feels badly, and in my head I can hear myself saying, "Oh, for heaven's sakes, Ryan, quit being such a drama queen."
Yes.
No, if you're late for this appointment, it's not going to kill you in 2 minutes. And it's a yes or no answer in this game. Yes. No, but it doesn't work in this game. So it's a yes or no answer. The beauty of it, though, Valeria, is it's free. It's convenient. It works anywhere your brain is, and your brain's usually with you wherever you are. And you can use it unlimited times a day. You can use it 1,000,000 times in a day. You can use it in every situation. And so it's really helpful to do that. And when you make it a habit, oh my goodness, does that open up doors of a joyful life of abundance and adventure and fun and all of the other things that we all are longing for in our lifetimes.
Yes. Yeah, it does. That's beautiful though. It's a generous gift from you, because I know it sounds very simple and anyone can apply this, and I will try it myself. I have been doing different ones throughout the year. They change, facing fear, just being with it and trying to escape from it. And it really has worked. And also asking the question of who is afraid. That's another one of my biggest questions.
But the first question needs to be, is this a real fear or a fake fear? And 99.9% of the time it's fake. So why waste any time thinking about it anymore?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. So this is beautiful. That's one of your books, recent books, 2-minute rule. And then the other one is Angelic Attendants. I love that name. There's something about it. I know the angelic would, of course, caught my attention, but attendants, for some reason, I was like attracted to the word. I don't know why, but it just feels very accommodating, like warm. And it's interesting. It's a very technical word, seems to me, but for some reason, maybe the way you have them together, angelic attendants, it's almost like having support. I think that's what a community of angels.
Can I tell you the backstory on the title?
Yeah.
I originally was going to call it Angelic Escorts because angels escort us to heaven. And my son Jonathan said, Mom, you can't call it Angelic Escorts because people are going to think it's a call girl service. He said, if anybody does an internet search on that, they're going to get all of these call girl service websites that are going to come up. So you got to come up with another name. I said, all right. So,
Yeah.
Our children advising us once again.
Oh, yeah, children. Yeah. Right. So angelic attendants, what really happens as we transition from this life into the next? And one of the things that caught my attention immediately was the 12 phases of transition.
Right.
That it's fascinating because I studied Tibetan Buddhism and they have something similar, the whole.
Really?
Oh my God, the whole system. Have you heard about the Book of the Dead? I actually have this book.
I have, but I haven't read it. How does that correlate with the 12 phases?
Well, it's the general idea that there is a process to it. It's not like we go from here to just completely not here, not being present in the body. So there's this, even where we exit to. So I just read briefly what the 12 phase is about. So it's very similar to Buddhism. You will probably come across one of these days if you read, especially the Book of
I'm
the
going to
Dead.
look it up now that you've pointed me in that direction.
It's fascinating how the cultures, right, without even knowing one another, we just come across the same findings. It's fascinating. That's how we know it's true.
Well, the 12 phases are how we're surrounded by angels and the spirits of deceased loved ones and pets as we're transitioning. And I found that there are lots of books written and lots of information about the afterlife and how to grieve and even near-death experiences, but not much information about what happens as we're dying. And I think that's what a lot of people are afraid of.
Yeah.
And so that's what led me to write this book. And I believe people have been able to see this since the beginning of time. And that plays into what you were talking about with the Buddhist philosophy of transitioning, because here's my belief, as we've become more well educated and proof based, we want to see proof for things. And as that's happened over the past, say, 150 years, then maybe 200 even, let's be generous and say over the past 200 years, where more and more of the population throughout the world became literate, we've dumbed down, what these cultural things are and the things that we were taught just through millennia of generations. And the thing that's really interesting about this now with these 12 phases, and it's the configuration of how the angels and the loved ones' spirits are positioned. But the thing that's interesting about it is that there is university-based research that validates that 90% of people at the end of their lives see the spirits of deceased loved ones and or pets, either in dreams or visions. 90%. Hilaria. So I always laugh and I think, I love it when science catches up with woo-woo, because woo-woo's been around a whole lot longer than the science.
Yes, so true. Yeah, I interviewed somebody. He wrote a book about that. He's a physician who he worked for hospice for many years, and he noticed that phenomena where the patients, they would dream right before they left the body, they died. They would report these visions. Oh, I had a dream, and they would say who was there, and I think she's coming to help me. And even the kids, they would say their pets were there when they were about to die too. And then I asked him, like, is that easier for children to let go of this, the so-called physical experience, body? And he said, yeah, children, they do a much better job. They are more open. Is that something that you found to be true as well, Julie?
Well, I haven't really worked with that many children at the end of their lives. I've worked more with people who are older and their families are on the phone or on the Zoom with me, and we're talking to their mother or their grandmother. I have talked to many, many children in heaven, their spirits in heaven, but I know that that's what the research shows. And you got to figure that they haven't been indoctrinated with all the things to be afraid of, as long as somebody perhaps that's lived 70 or 80 years. And the thing that scares people the most is things they've learned in religions. My parish priest said one time, people are so afraid to die because they don't know if they're going to fly or if they're going to fry.
Oh, God.
And I thought, I told him after mass was over, I said, okay, I'm going to poach that one. That was good. But it's so true. People are so afraid am I going to go burn for eternity, because they've been brought up believing that. And that's all just been used as a control mechanism from religions and cultures and governments to control the masses. But everybody goes to heaven. There was a movie out in the 80s, All Dogs Go to Heaven. Well, all people go to heaven too. And I've escorted many, many, many spirits to heaven when they've separated from their bodies, of clients and also other family members. And I've never seen St. Peter at the pearly gates with a clipboard going, okay, you're allowed in. No, you can't come. You got to go burn for eternity.
Right. Now I believe you. That's for sure. And it's beyond a belief system. Yes. So do you attribute that fear to the attachment of the body, of the idea that we are only the body. That's how. Is that how you see this reality? Most people believing that they are the body and the thoughts. Because I remember I was this way kind of for so long, attached to the idea that I was a body mind. And now it's a lot more freeing. Like I know I'm not just this. It's so clear to me.
Oh, I think we're brought up to believe that. I think that's what we're taught. We're taught to not follow our intuition or our gut on something. We're taught to be a critical thinker, intellectualize it. And whenever we go against what our intuition or our gut is telling us, most of the time we regret it. Because you can intellectualize the daylights out of it, but there's nothing like the internal GPS system. And it's that first thought, first thing that comes in. When we start thinking about it, that's when we get confused, and when we can, we don't make an error in judgment. Perhaps we'll just get to the same end result, just in a more circuitous route than how we could have gone, perhaps in an easier route to get to the same end result. But it's all good. It all benefits us in some way.
Right, right. So I wonder what's the contribution of psychology in this sense? Are we transition from this, less intellectualized idea of being human and evolving more into being intuitive beings, more in touch with the spirit? Is that something that you see happening in this moment in time?
Very much so. I think that the part of the conversation of the psychedelics, psilocybin, the ayahuasca, that kind of stuff, LSD back in the day when I was a kid, in the 60s, I was a little kid, and we used to watch the hippies, and a lot of them were stoned.
Yeah.
And, they were tripping on LSD, on a psychedelic kind of a drug. And that's been around since the beginning of time in all cultures.
Right.
But I find that there's more of a conversation about spirituality, about exploring there's more than meets the eye here. And I see that people are moving away from organized religions, for example, and saying, okay, I'm more interested in spirituality than some rules and regulations. You got to do this, this, and this in order to get into heaven, and you got to do whatever. And people are going, yeah, not so much. And I see that too in governments, where people are saying, yeah, you're telling me to do this, but I'm not going to do it. That doesn't make sense to me. So we saw that with COVID. Certainly there were people that said, okay, yeah, here's my arm. There were other people that said, not happening. There were people that wore masks and stayed home. I mean, how many people did we see driving in the car by themselves with their mask on? And I'm thinking, who are you protecting yourself from? Yourself?
Right.
But they were following directions. And then there were just as many or more people saying, well, look at that person driving in their car by themselves with their mask on. My favorite during COVID was walking into a restaurant, and you had to have your mask on until you got to the table that was 3 feet from the door. But then you could take your mask off once you were at the table because, that was different airspace.
Yeah.
Not so much. So people have started to question things. And I really think that COVID was a catalyst for that, in what we were being asked to do and what the government was requiring, not just here in America, but throughout the world.
Right.
And people were saying, that doesn't make sense to me. I'm not going to do it. And so the zeitgeist is changing of how people are, I think, in the process of being more self-sufficient, thinking thoughts that perhaps are different from what they're being told to do, and then not complying with what they're being told to do. Do you agree with that? Are you seeing that?
Absolutely. Yes. I'm seeing it within myself first. Yeah. This movement. And then, yes, around me. Yes. Even my family members. Yes. Yeah. It's still somewhat divided, or I wouldn't say divided, but it's slow. For some people, it's really, the process is slower. So, gosh, I can't help it but just kind of the mind, for some reason, brought up the thought of you being politics. I mean, that would be amazing to see a president like that, intuitive, talking to people from a place of love. That is something that would be, that would be the evidence that this is just, we are evolving. We are learning what is to be a human being, what is God having a human experience in a way. So is that something that ever crossed your mind? I know it's thoughts, they are not really something that we're supposed to be giving too much attention, but intuitively, have you had that thought?
I appreciate anybody willing to put themselves and their families through that. And I think everybody's intentions are good. And then lots of control comes in, usually surrounded around money is the bottom line. And so I just appreciate anybody willing to put themselves in the arena. I send them lots of love and good wishes and energy, because I believe that they're all doing it for the right reason, even though different opinions certainly come into play. But again, it goes back to, it helps us hone in on what it is we want. When we know what we don't want, it helps us figure out what we do want.
Right. Yes. Do you have a vision for that? Because if we don't have leaders, right, people who are modeling this way of living, of being, how can we, as a whole, change or heal? Actually, I'm dropping the word change, but it's heal. How can that happen without still having these leaders that are not in resonance with spirit?
Well, I think the only thing we can control is our own minds. We can't control anybody else, because we can't control what their thoughts are. So what we do is, if enough of us are focused on, we need somebody that's a heart-centered leader that's doing this as a mission to help others, then when enough of us focus on something, it can change the energy of the situation, and people that are of that mindset can be attracted to it.
Right. Yes, that makes sense too. Thank you for answering these questions just came to me. So thank you so much again for being open, Julie. I really appreciate that.
You bet.
We are almost at the end. I want to mention your services. So besides your books, you do medical scanning, PET scanning, talk to deceased, dying person scan, paranormal, past lives, intuitive training, so angelic attendant training, and the angels in enlightenment training. You also have a podcast, which is a very interesting, it's just very inviting. Ask Julie Ryan show. So it invites us to ask questions. That is askjulieryan.com is your website too. You are on everywhere: Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, YouTube, and you're offering the listeners and people who are watching this a free gift. This is the audio or digital copy of Angelic Attendants. So for that, you go to julieryangift.com. All the links will be clickable on the podcast notes, so it's easier that way.
Right.
Would you like to add anything? Did I miss anything, Julie?
No, but on YouTube, we've got Ask Julie Ryan Espanol. So all the shows are dubbed in Spanish. We've recently released Ask Julie Ryan Portuguese.
Right.
So you can help me with that, how our interpretations are going. And by the end of the year, we'll have Ask Julie Ryan French and Ask Julie Ryan German, where we're changing all the shows into those languages just to make it easier for people who prefer to listen in their native language or in another language, because they're practicing that language, perhaps, if they prefer. So everything is at askjulieryan.com, and then you can go from there.
Yeah, it sounds wonderful. I love that too. The expansion, right? Becoming more global and not just local. So that's beautiful. In a way, more universal than just personal. So yes, I apologize for forgetting that. So Spanish, Portuguese, and then you will be expanding to different languages as well. So everything will be on the podcast notes. To end this conversation, would you like to add anything that you left unsaid?
Just that everybody has the ability to communicate with spirit, and it can really enhance your life in
Mhm.
just amazing ways. So just ask a question. You don't even have to ask it to a specific person like your grandmother, or I mean, you can talk to anybody. You can talk to Elvis, you can talk to
Yes.
George Washington,
Yes.
Napoleon, whoever. It doesn't matter. You just think of them, and then that tunes your head, your satellite dish head, to their frequency, because every spirit has a frequency they keep throughout all their lifetimes. And in order
Yeah.
to get in touch with them, you just think of them, and that tunes your satellite dish head to their channel. And then it opens something similar to a two-way radio communication. So you say something, either a statement or a question, they're going to answer you. It's the exact first thing,
Mm.
sometimes even before you finish the thought. And then you have access to any information you want. It really has the ability to enhance our lives when we know that we can communicate with spirit, God, the universe, whatever you want
Yeah.
to call it. It's all the same thing.
Yes. I love that too. Thank you so much, Julie, again, for your presence in this reality, for your the energetic resonance is really beautiful. And yes, no words even. Thank you so much again for doing what you do and for your generosity too. I see you just give all this information. And I know even though you offer them as a service, but you also give it almost at the same level. So thank you so much again for being you. And we'll talk soon. Bye for now.